The sun was low in the sky. The warm orange light touched the wheat fields like golden fire. Caleb stood at the edge of his small farm, wiping sweat from his forehead with a dusty sleeve. Life on the farm was simple, quiet, and lonely. He had no family, no visitors, and no neighbors close by. Most days passed with just the wind, his animals, and the sound of birds. But today felt strange. Caleb had seen something unusual while checking the eastern fence. A shimmer of light in the sky, like falling stars, but too slow and too silent. He thought it might be a drone or maybe space junk. He shook his head and went back to his work. Hours passed and the sky turned dark purple. As Caleb carried a basket of fresh eggs toward the barn, he noticed movement near the cornfield. Something or someone was walking slowly. He stopped. His eyes narrowed. It was a figure. No, two. No, three. He stepped closer, carefully. His boots crunched on the gravel path. The figures didn't run. One of them raised a hand. "Please," a soft voice called out. "Don't shoot." Caleb paused. A girl stepped into the moonlight holding something in her arms. She looked young, but not human. Her skin had a pale blue color, like moonlight on snow. Her hair was white and thin, and small elf-like ears peeked out. Her eyes were large and filled with tiredness. She wasn't alone. Two small children stood behind her, hiding behind her legs. They looked just like her, thin, afraid, and hungry. Caleb didn't move. He wasn't afraid, just surprised. The girl walked closer, holding out her hands. I'm not danger," she said. Her voice was broken but clear enough. "Please, if you feed my children, I will work for you." Caleb looked at the kids. Their ribs showed. One was barefoot. The other held a torn blanket. His heart softened. He had seen animals in better shape than them. "You speak English?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "Only a little." He looked at them again. He could say no. He could send them away. But something, inside him, a deep part, wouldn't let him. "Come," he said simply. "There's food in the house." She stared at him, not sure if she heard right. But when he waved his hand, she slowly followed. Inside the house, Caleb gave them a place to sit. He placed warm bread, leftover stew, and water on the table. The girl didn't eat right away. She gave the food to her children first. They ate, like they hadn't eaten in days. Caleb noticed her eyes were watching their every bite. Only after the children were fed did she eat a little herself. "You don't have a name?" he asked quietly. She looked up, wiping her mouth. "Lyra? And the kids?" She smiled gently. "Tommy. And Zira." Caleb nodded. "I'm Caleb. This is my farm. It's small, but safe." She lowered her head. "Thank you, Caleb." They spent the night in the barn's loft. Caleb brought them extra blankets and an old mattress. The children fell asleep quickly. Lyra sat beside them, her hand gently stroking their hair. She looked out through the cracks in the wood and watched the stars. Caleb stood outside the barn for a while, thinking. What was he doing? Why was he letting aliens stay on his farm? He shook his head. He didn't care where she came from. He saw a mother trying to protect her children. That was all that mattered. The next morning, the sun rose early. Caleb went to check on the chickens. As he passed the barn, he heard movement. Lyra was already awake. She was sweeping the barn floor with a bundle of straw. She looked up when he entered. "I said I work," she said, standing straight. "Let me help." He smiled, surprised. "All right then, come with me." She followed him around the farm, watching everything he did. She didn't speak much, but she learned fast. She watered the crops, fed the animals, and even repaired a broken wheelbarrow using strange tools she kept hidden in her pack. Caleb noticed she had strong hands for someone who looked so delicate. Later that day, the kids helped gather eggs. Tommy laughed when the rooster chased him. Zira found a feather and tied it in her hair. For the first time in a long time, Caleb heard laughter on his farm. That night, he made extra food. The four of them sat on the porch, watching the stars. "Why are you here, Lyra?" Caleb asked gently. She was quiet for a while. Then she said, "We ran from war. Bad people wanted us gone. We escaped. Our ship broke. I found this place." He nodded. "You're safe here." She looked at him, her eyes soft. "I will repay. I promise." Caleb didn't say anything, but deep down, he felt like something had changed. His quiet life wasn't so quiet anymore. It was still simple. But now it felt less lonely. The stars above twinkled gently, and in the middle of a forgotten piece of earth, a human farmer, an alien girl, and her children shared bread, safety, and the beginning of something unexpected. The next few days passed like quiet wind through the wheat fields. Caleb didn't ask many questions. Lyra didn't give many answers. But something new was growing. Not just crops, but trust. Each morning, Lyra woke early. She helped feed the chickens, gather eggs, and water the plants. She never complained. Her hands were strong, her back straight, and her eyes always alert like someone used to watching for danger. The children stayed close to her side at first. They barely spoke, only whispered in their own soft language. But after a week, they began to explore the farm. Tommy chased butterflies between the corn rows. Zira liked the goats and often fed them grass with her tiny hands. Caleb gave them space, but he watched with quiet care. Lyra worked harder than anyone he had ever hired. Before, though he had not truly hired her, still he felt she earned her place. She cleaned the tools, fixed broken fences, and even showed him how to use strange parts from her crashed pod to make old machines work better. One afternoon, as they sat under the old oak tree near the well, Caleb handed Lyra a cold glass of lemonade. "You ever try this?" he asked. She sniffed the drink carefully, then took a sip. Her eyes widened. Sweet and cold. Caleb laughed. "That's the idea." She smiled, then looked up at the sky. "Your world. Peaceful." He nodded. "Not everywhere. But here, yes." She looked down, her voice quiet. "My world was peaceful once too." Caleb didn't push her to say more. He just sat beside her watching the wheat move with the breeze. That night after dinner, Lyra opened her small pack. She took out a metal object with blinking lights. Caleb had seen it before. Something from her ship, maybe. She turned it in, her hands, and looked at him. "I want to help more," she said. "Your tools are slow. This can fix." Caleb raised an eyebrow. "Fix what?" She pointed to his old plowing machine. "It's weak, I can make better." He was unsure at first, but he trusted her. "All right, show me." The next morning, she took apart the engine and carefully added pieces from her device. She worked, with focus, her hands moving fast. In a few hours, the machine roared to life, stronger, louder, and smoother than ever before. Caleb was shocked. "You sure you're not an engineer?" Lyra gave a small smile. "Farmer. Same tools, just different planets." From that day, the farm changed. Work became easier. The crops grew better. Lyra even helped plant alien seeds she had brought with her. They glowed faintly at night and sprouted faster than normal plants. Caleb's farm had never looked so alive. But peace never lasts forever. One evening, while checking the fence, Lyra suddenly stopped. Her body stiffened. She looked up. Caleb followed her gaze. In the sky, far above, was a blinking light. It moved slowly, silently, then disappeared. "What was that?" he asked. Lyra didn't answer right away. Then she said, "Watch her. They're looking." Caleb frowned. "For you?" She nodded. "I thought they would not come, but they follow." He put a hand on her shoulder. "Then we prepare." From that moment, Caleb became more alert. He checked the skies often. He reinforced the barn doors, updated the locks on the house, and even set up cameras, borrowed from his friend in town. Lyra helped without fear. But at night, he sometimes saw her standing outside looking at the stars, her arms wrapped around herself. One night, He joined her. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, but her voice was low. "I don't want to run again." "You won't," he said simply. She looked at him, her eyes filled with quiet hope. "Why help me, Caleb?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because you asked, and because I could." Lyra looked away, blinking back tears. She had lost so much, but somehow on this farm she had found something she thought was gone forever. The children had also changed. Tommy started calling Caleb Uncle Caleb, and Zira often followed him around with a basket trying to help pick vegetables. Caleb built them a swing from an old tire and rope. The laughter that came from that tree filled the whole farm with life. Even the neighbors started to notice. Caleb's friend, Mr. Harper, stopped by one day. "Looks like you've got extra help," he said with a smile. "Found a good worker," Caleb replied. He didn't explain more. The world didn't know. Lyra was here, and for now Caleb wanted to keep it that way. But deep inside he knew the peace might not last. If someone was looking for her, they would come eventually. Still, as the sun set that evening, and the children chased fireflies in the yard, Caleb felt something strong inside him, something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. He wasn't just a farmer anymore. He was a protector. The wind was calm, and the farm looked peaceful, but Caleb's heart was not. Ever since that strange blinking light in the sky, something inside him stayed alert. He knew it wasn't just a star, and from the way Lyra reacted, he was sure of one thing. Someone was looking for her. He didn't ask more about her past. She told him only what she thought he needed to know. Her people had lived on a green planet far from Earth. They were peaceful and loved farming and science. But a war started. Her people were blamed for something they didn't do. The leaders of another world called them enemies. The peaceful farms were destroyed and families had to flee. "I don't know if anyone from my village is alive," she said one night. "We ran. We crashed. Now, I just want to keep my children safe." Caleb understood. He had lost his own family years ago. His wife had passed and he had no children. That empty space in his life slowly started to feel full again, with laughter, soft voices, and shared meals. But peace was starting to break. One morning, Caleb found a drone hovering above the wheat field. It wasn't one of his. It had no farm tag, and its shape was nothing like the local models. It was smooth, round, and silent. Caleb grabbed his shotgun, not to shoot, but to warn. The drone flew higher and vanished into the clouds. He told Lyra immediately. Her face turned pale. "They found me," she whispered. "Not yet," Caleb replied firmly. "We're not letting them take you." That day, they made a plan. Lyra still had some tech from her ship. Most of it was broken, but she had saved a few useful tools. Together, they built hidden panels in the barn and underground spots to hide the children if needed. Caleb also called an old friend, Marta, a former engineer who now worked with electronics in the next town. She had once owed him a favor. When he asked if she could help shield some strange signals, she didn't ask too many questions. She came the next day with tools and gear. "I don't want trouble," Marta said, looking around. "But you've always been honest, Caleb, so I'm here." Lyra stayed quiet but watched her work carefully. Marta noticed. "She's smart," Marta whispered later. "Not from around here, is she?" Caleb didn't answer, but his silence said enough. After Marta left, the farm felt stronger, safer, but the feeling didn't last long. That night, Zira woke up crying. Caleb rushed to the barn loft. "Bad dream?" he asked gently. She nodded, tears on her cheeks. Men in black eyes, big ship. Took Mama. Lyra sat beside her, hugging her daughter close. "Just a dream," she whispered. But her eyes said she was afraid too. Later, as the children slept again, Caleb and Lyra sat on the porch. "I won't let them take you," Caleb said. Lyra looked at him. "Why risk yourself? I bring danger here." He thought for a moment, then he said, "You didn't bring danger. You brought life back to this place, and maybe that's something worth fighting for." She didn't reply, but her eyes glistened in the moonlight. The next day, Caleb decided to prepare more seriously. He began turning old farm tools into traps. Nothing deadly, but enough to slow down anyone who came. He added motion sensors around the edge of the fields and kept the truck filled with gas, just in case they needed to escape. Lyra helped silently. She didn't speak much anymore. Her focus was only on her children and keeping them safe. Tommy and Zira seemed to feel the change too. They didn't laugh as much, and they stayed close to the house. That afternoon, something strange happened. While Lyra was fixing the solar panels near the chicken coop, she froze. Caleb saw her drop her tools and stand very still. "What is it?" he asked. She pointed. In the dirt, half buried, was a small round object, black with a red light blinking slowly. "A tracker," she said in a low voice. Caleb's jaw tightened. "That wasn't there before." She shook her head. "It's new. They were here." Caleb took the tracker and smashed it with a hammer, then tossed the pieces deep into the well. But it was too late. If it had sent a signal, they had been found. That night, the family didn't sleep in the barn. Caleb made beds in the root cellar below the house. It was cold, but safe. He stayed up most of the night, shotgun by his side. Lyra sat nearby, holding her children close. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't be," Caleb replied. "This is your home now, and I protect what's mine." In the quiet, under the earth, surrounded by tools, food, and old blankets, a new kind of family waited in the shadows. The wind above whistled through the trees. The farm, once silent and forgotten, was now part of a much bigger story, and the storm was coming. The days after the tracker incident were tense. Caleb could feel it in the air. The farm no longer belonged only to him and the earth beneath his feet. It belonged to something bigger now, something stronger. But the farm had never looked more alive. Lyra was no longer just a helper. She was a part of the land itself. She worked alongside Caleb with a quiet strength. She moved with purpose, tending the animals and the crops with a care that matched his own. The alien seeds she had planted grew fast, spreading strange green leaves under the sun. Some had bright flowers, others strange fruits Caleb had never seen. He tasted one carefully. It was sweet, fresh, and unlike anything he knew. The children laughed more now. Tommy learned to ride the old tractor, wobbling but proud. Zira spent hours chasing butterflies and playing with the goats. Caleb built them, a swing from a sturdy tree branch and a thick rope. Watching them play, Caleb felt the sharp edge of loneliness dull. But even with joy, the danger waited. One evening, as the sun set in deep reds and purples, Caleb and Lyra stood at the top of the hill behind the farmhouse. The wind brushed their faces, carrying the soft scent of earth and grass. "I heard them," Lyra said quietly. "The Watchers. They are close." Caleb looked out to the horizon. Small lights flickered far away, too many to count. He knew the Watchers were coming, but not yet. "We have time," he said, "but we need to be ready." Together they worked on defenses. Caleb's old farm tools became part of a clever system. Tripwires, noisemakers, and hidden alarms were placed around the fields and barn. Lyra used her knowledge of alien technology to build silent shields over the entrances. They didn't want to fight. They wanted to protect their home. The small town nearby started to notice strange lights and sounds. Caleb's friend Marta came by more often, helping with electronics and sharing news. She didn't ask many questions, only said, "Whatever you're hiding, Caleb, it's worth protecting." One afternoon, while fixing a fence, Lyra stopped suddenly. "There," she said, pointing to the woods. A small group of figures moved carefully through the trees. They wore dark clothes and carried strange devices Caleb had never seen before. The Watchers had arrived. Caleb didn't panic. He called Lyra's children inside and hid them in the root cellar. He grabbed his shotgun and walked toward the edge of the farm. The watchers stopped. They looked at Caleb, then at the farm. They did not move forward. Caleb stood tall. "This is my home." Lyra stepped beside him, her voice calm but strong. "Leave now. You will not find what you seek here." The watchers exchanged looks. Then, without warning, one of them raised a small device and pointed it at Caleb. But before the device could fire, a loud noise came from the barn. Lights flashed and hidden alarms screamed. Caleb's traps had worked. The watchers turned, confused and alarmed. In the chaos, Caleb and Lyra moved quickly. Using a small device from her pack, Lyra sent out a pulse that disabled the watchers. Technology. Their devices went dark and they stumbled unbalanced. "We protect our own," Caleb shouted. "Go back. This is your warning." The watchers hesitated, then slowly backed away into the trees, disappearing into the night. Caleb and Lyra watched them go. The danger was not gone, but the farm had stood strong. That night, the family gathered in the living room. The children, now safe, smiled for the first time in days. Lyra looked at Caleb. "You risked much." He shrugged. "You risked more coming here." She smiled softly. "We repay with loyalty. I work not just for food, but for family." Caleb nodded, feeling warmth spread inside him. This was no longer just a farm. It was a home where two worlds met and grew together. The stars above shone bright. The future was uncertain, but Caleb knew one thing. They would face it together. The morning sun rose slowly over the farm. Its warm light spread across the fields, making the crops glow with life. The air was fresh and sweet with the smell of earth and grass. Caleb stood at the porch, watching Lyra and the children working nearby. The farm was no longer just his. It belonged to all of them now. Lyra moved with confidence, tending the plants and singing softly in a language Caleb didn't know. Tommy and Zira ran between the rows, laughing as they chased a small butterfly. The sound filled the quiet farm with joy. It had been many weeks since the watchers had come. They had not returned. Caleb hoped their warning was enough to keep them away for good, but he knew better than to be careless. Still, something had changed in all of them. One afternoon, Caleb and Lyra sat together under the big oak tree. The farm was peaceful and the sky was a deep blue. Caleb looked at Lyra and smiled. "You have done more than work here," he said. "You brought life back to this place." Lyra looked at him with soft eyes. "And you gave us hope." "I was lost before, but now we have a home." Caleb nodded. "We'll keep it safe. Together." That evening, Caleb showed Lyra a small old barn near the edge of the farm. It was empty and worn, but still strong. "We can fix this," he said. "Make it your home." Lyra's face lit up with hope. "Yes, for my children." Together they worked for days. They cleaned the barn, fixed broken boards, and made a warm space inside. Caleb taught Lyra how to build a small fire stove, and she shared stories of her people's way of farming and living. One night, while they sat by the fire, Lyra spoke quietly. "My people grow many things. Some plants can heal, others feed many. I will teach you." Caleb smiled. "I want to learn." Over the next weeks, Lyra planted strange seeds beside the corn and wheat. Some grew fast, others slowly, but all were healthy and bright. The neighbors came to see, curious and amazed. "Where did you get these?" one asked. "From far away," Caleb said with a wink. "A friend." Slowly, the farm became a place where two worlds met. Humans came to trade and learn. Caleb found himself talking to more people than ever before. The loneliness he had felt for years was gone. The children flourished too. Tommy learned to read with Caleb's old books. Zira painted small pictures with colorful plants. Their laughter became the heart of the farm. One clear night, Caleb and Lyra stood outside, looking up at the stars. The sky was full of light, far, brighter than anywhere Caleb had ever seen. "Do you miss your home?" Caleb asked softly. Lyra nodded. "Sometimes, but here I have a family." He took her hand. "And you have a home." They stood together, watching the stars. The quiet was no longer lonely, it was full of promise. Caleb knew that the road ahead might not be easy. The Watchers might return. The world might never fully understand them. But for now, on this small farm under the endless sky, hope was alive. They had survived. They had built something new, and together they would face whatever came next.